Welcome. Here's everything you're going to learn by the end of this video. You will learn everything you need to know about calisthenics and working out, and I promise you will save hours of your time. You don't need these other videos. Don't treat this video like another one, because this has everything you need to win. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. In this world, there are many different types of people. You walk down the street and see normal people, dads with dad bods, skinny dudes, fat asses, jack guys. Wait, jack guys? He looks better than everybody else. You tell yourself, I want to be just like him. That's why most of you got this interest of working out. And I can assure you that the best type of jack guys are the calisthenic ones. Listen closely. This sport is the closest thing to developing a strong body that can live on for many long years, capable of great flexibility and swinging from tree to tree. People who go to the gym, sure, they can get stronger, but their muscles will not be as compact most of the time. Those huge bodybuilders sacrifice mobility and years of life just to look big. Can a 1 pound heart really handle a 300-pound body? The answer is no. In fact, what's very important when you want to do any physical effort is to warm up. You cannot go from 60 heartbeats per minute to 140 doing hard activity. That's why you take your time to start breaking a sweat by warming up not only the muscle you will use, but your whole body, meaning that for a push day, you gotta warm up your arms, your core, your legs, and get the blood rising, as well as the heartbeat up. Because if you don't warm up for workouts, over time your heart will fatigue. I will show you how to warm up correctly. This also includes the resting periods during sets, because it's not only the muscle that's actually working, but also your heart. Anyways, whenever you see some special forces, for example, you notice that they're tough because of the endurance they're capable of. And they're never that big usually, just big enough to hold on onto strong and versatile muscles. It's like you put a Légion d'honneur in a jungle. He's got the strength to traverse any obstacle. Now, I'm not bashing on gym rats, but my message is that you need the balance between strength and size, because bigger muscles don't always equal stronger ones. And the path to the calisthenic athletes is one where you'll find more success in health and life overall. So what's your goal? If you agree with everything I just said here, then your goal is to have a capable body that is also strong and that will also stay strong in old age. Maybe you're too skinny and want to get bigger. Maybe you're too fat so you want to break a sweat. But the first step in calisthenics is defining your goals. For this year, my goals are to be bigger and stronger, more flexible, stronger in my mind, and I'm also competing with friends and family over who's gonna make the most progress. As you can see, this is me. I've been working out for 2.5 years. I went from skinny to having a good foundation right now, and these muscle groups you see on screen are what I'm going to tell you about today. But first, how does a muscle function and how does it grow? Well, here's an exercise. Try this. Did you notice what happened? Your brain gave the command to this muscle to flex. You contracted the muscle. That's what we call a muscle-mind connection. And especially when you work out, it's important to feel that connection. And to put it quite simply, muscles are used to hold our bodies together. When people think of muscles, they refer to the skeletal muscles, which are attached to the bones via tendons. These muscles make up around 40 or 30% of our body weight, and sometimes why you might be cold is because your muscles are not warm enough. Since according to science, 85% of human body warmth comes from the muscles. Muscles are made up of many strings, which are called fibers. And for our brains, we can direct specific actions like throwing away your phone. Oops. These fibers are composed of fast twitch fibers and slow twitch fibers. The faster ones are for explosiveness and the slower ones are for endurance. And normally, you have veins pouring blood into your muscles. That's why when you work out, you feel the infamous pump. And here's a little secret. In order for you to use your muscles efficiently, breathe. This is the only way for you to do any of the workouts that you do. That's why when you push yourself up, you breathe out. And when you go back down, you breathe in. As for the structure, muscles usually work in opposition. For example, while lifting something, the bicep pulls and the tricep relaxes. It's the same thing for walking, or we also have static muscles which keep your posture up. These big muscles are supported by smaller tendons, and tendons can also be trained. Just be careful with them, alright? But now that we understand how muscles work, let's see how muscles grow. You have the obvious, like, yes, they're gonna grow when you cause microfractures and you get sore, and yes, they're gonna grow during sleep and when you eat protein and all that. In fact, the right amount of protein is actually 2 grams per body weight of kilos, actually. If you're a fat ass, well, it doesn't really work well, but if you're normal weights like me, you can do 80 kilos, which is my weight now, times 2, which is 160 grams of protein per day. This also includes carving up, getting calories. I don't know much about dieting, but the point is that you eat in a caloric surplus, which is more than what you're doing right now. And if you don't really have the appetite, then you have to deserve the appetite. Start working hard, and then your body's gonna ask for food. I need food, I need hungry. And then that's how you get sleep. That's how you deserve sleep. You have to recover and strain your body. It's that simple. Here's a fundamental principle of muscle growth. If you want to change the state of a being, you must first warm it up. This translates to everything you do in life, including warming up your muscles before working out. And I will show you this later in the video, but warming up just needs to induce a bigger blood flow and a preparation of the joints and muscles you're going to train. The 4 most important places to warm up are the wrist, the scapula, the elbows, and the ankle. And before doing, for example, a leg day, just take a little run, a jog, or just do slow squats. A component of muscles are also the flexibility. The more free they are, the easier it is to move. And with the principle I just told you about, you should stretch the warmed up muscles right after a workout. To indulge the most effort from a muscle, you should learn the correct form for each exercise and put emphasis on a range of motion. The range of motion is how far you can go to the maximal state to the minimal state. Observe the difference between the 2 forms. Doing push-ups like that lazy kid in PE will never be as effective as the correct push-up form. And for the best experience, breathe properly. Breathe in before you're about to push, and breathe out when you do the effort. In fact, these 2 movements have other names. The concentric part of the movement is where you do the most effort, like pushing yourself or pulling yourself up, and the eccentric movement, also referred to as the negative portion of the movement, is the easier movement that doesn't have a lot of tension, but focusing on both of these will make the difference between sloppy push-ups and strong push-ups.
Well, according to science, most muscle is made during the eccentric movement of the exercise because that's where the most microfractures happen.
Which is pretty true though. To keep growing a muscle, you obviously need to do progressive overload, meaning every few times, like weeks or months, you increase the intensity of the workout. A muscle group will be nicely stimulated when you train it 2 to 3 times a week. We have movements that are important for proper activation. For most calisthenic movements, you need to incorporate the movement of the scapula. So do this with me. You can just stay where you are or go on the floor. The point is, you protract and retract your scapula. You will understand this very quickly, and you'll see that it's important for push-ups, pull-ups, and many more movements. The other movement you'll have to master is in the hips. Check the form between the 2. This is when your hips are backwards, and this is when your hips are forward. For skills like the plank, you notice that the hips are actually forward, and this helps you engage your core muscles for better stability. You don't want to do your push-ups with your ass out, but instead align the elements correctly. Don't worry about which muscles are going to be activated for which exercise. If you do a set to failure, meaning till you can't no more, you're going to definitely feel the muscles being worked. Besides, I'll tell you what muscles are being used for each exercise as we're finally moving on to the exercises themselves. The first group of muscles are those being used to push ourselves, mainly composed of the shoulders, the chest, and the triceps. For you to see the difference between the triceps and the biceps, you can always do this elevator trick. While one side is tight, the other one is relaxed. When most people think about push day, push-ups come to mind, and there's many diverse variations. This is the standard push-up, the most correct form of push-ups you can ever do. The way you perform this push-up is by properly engaging the scapula. When you're up, you protract your scapula and make it retreat once you're down. Your elbows must be facing forward to not cause unnecessary tension, and you need to get the full range of motion by going up and down, touching the floor with your chest. Obviously, keep your core tight with your foot, your bum, and your scapula aligned. That was the standard push-up. Now the way we can change the variation is by playing around with the width of the push-up, which plays around the tension of the chest muscles, as well as the height. This gives us the diamond push-up, wide push-ups, and pseudo-plank push-ups, the harder ones that are my favorite. Because the closer you put your hands to the core, the harder it is to push. I used to do it with my fist, which you can do for any type of push-up, but commonly for this one, you put your hands like this on the floor. But the safest way that I've seen people do it is with your hands like this. This reduces the risk of injuries. But when your hands are above and close, that's where you get what I call the forearm push-up, which is pretty advanced. And another variation of this is the exercise where you push a bar above your head. Next, we've got the elevation. This is everything from grandma push-ups to a handstand push-up. Obviously, everybody knows how to do a grandma push-up. The more you rotate your body clockwise, the harder it gets. From this, you get the incline push-up with the decline push-up. Then there's the pike push-up, which slowly evolves into the handstand push-up. The more you go this way, and you're going to feel the muscles for pushing above. Because it is not just pushing forward. You can push up, down, and in front, not really behind. All of these variations are great, but there's more. If you have limbs, you can do single limb variations, like for the arms and the legs. And this translates to single arm push-ups. And if you can't do a single arm push-up, then try some archer ones. They go like, ooh, like this. These push-ups vary in difficulty, but you can easily amp it up and switch it up by using your fingers instead of your whole hand. I don't really find this appealing, but look how cool Bruce Lee looks doing it. You can also incorporate explosiveness by fully jumping into these push-ups or just lifting your palm. And there's other things like a fuller range of motion where you get a deeper stretch in the chest. For that, you need more space beneath you, which you can do with books or with parallels. Oh, and you can clap too. Of course, there's many different types of push-ups, and the best ones are the ones with the full range of motion and the ones that are intense for you. Next, for the pushing section, we have the dip. Obviously, you may start with back dips with your feet on the floor and your arms behind, and move on to putting your feet above and then using the bars to do normal dips, which have many variations such as the depth and combinations. But you also have a 1-bar dip, commonly trained for the muscle up, which you will see later in this video. I know this is a calisthenics video, but I find some of these weight exercises pretty useful. The most important one, for me, being the shrugs, because this quickly gets your traps sore. Next on the list, we have the pulling motion. The muscle groups for that function are mainly the biceps, the traps, and lats. Obviously there's also the shoulders, but the other ones are more important to target for pulling. Now the main exercise for this is the pull-up. Instead of pushing yourself up, now you're pulling yourself up. An important warm-up for this exercise is the scapula shrugs. This just means that you first condition yourself holding on to the bar, and then you rotate your shoulders around to pump in some blood. Just be careful for pull-ups because the skin of your hands will start to peel off. Sometimes I use gloves, but I've seen some clever people use sponges. Now, here are the many different variations of pull-ups. Similar to the way that I explained width and height with the push-ups, there are many different ways of gripping. We have the close grip, the shoulder width, and a wide grip. The best one for range of motion and most stimulation is the one that is shoulder width times 1.5. You can hold the front grip, targeting more of the back grip, which emphasizes the bicep, and the neutral grip, which is somewhere in between. But I definitely recommend hitting your back muscles with the pulling motions, but the way you do that is by a correct form of pull-ups. Here are the steps to perform the perfect pull-up. First, hang off the bar. Next, there's a difference between the active hang and the dead hang, as you can see here. What I want you to do is to keep it active once you're down on the motion. And when you go up, touch the bar with your chest and fully retract your scapula. Similar to the push-ups, you gotta bring your elbows inwards and not out. You can even squeeze your elbows towards your hips and especially the back. And here's a little secret for you. Imagine you're not pulling yourself up to the ledge, but instead that you're pulling it to your torso, that it's pulling down. You're not pulling up, you're pulling down. This mental trick is going to make you struggle less and you're going to engage your proper muscles. Moving on. Similar to the push-ups, we also have elevation, starting with grandma pull-ups using some bars, then slowly going down until you reach what we call Australian pull-ups or low bar rows. These are great to start off with if you have a poor pulling foundation. Something that will truly help a lot of you is doing the eccentric portion of the exercise. So for pull-ups, you gotta jump and grip it. Make sure you're in the good position and slowly go down. You do this many different times and you will feel the targeted muscles properly. For the next level exercises, we have such movements like the pull-up where your head goes in front of the bar. It's kinda unpractical, but it's fine. You also have the one-arm variations with archer pull-ups and the one-arm pull-up. All of this leads to the masterful skill of the pullings, which is the muscle up. It's a crazy long pull-up where you literally pull yourself so hard that you actually get over the bar. I can't do it yet, but I will make it. I'll show you. I can also mention that you can do pull-ups on bars, but you can also do pull-ups on gym rings, because this will work more of your grip. An important component of pull-ups is the grip, which is going to help you get up, obviously, and hold yourself. And if you have weak grip, well, you're not going to do many pull-ups. So that's why it's important to work your grip. And I'll show you how to improve it. The last major part of the arm muscles are in the forearms and the hands. These dictate how hard you can squish and shake another's hand. The way to train yourself to hold onto the bars longer is quite simply hanging. Not only is it good for posture and decompressing your spine, but it serves well for training how long you will hold on to your mere life. Like you've seen before, you can hang actively or passively. And also try doing a one-arm hang or some shoulder shrugs. The joints of the wrist are really vulnerable to injuries, so that's why you have to warm them up before each exercise. And more on getting stronger grip, you have these which are called hand grippers, right? It's just one-dimensional gripping, but I prefer this. But I personally use this ring, which is a rubber ring from Decathlon of 40 kg of pressing. And I just do 3 sets to failure each day for each arm, and this is enough for me. When you do it, don't put all of your energy into it and make your shoulders and triceps work. No, just relax and grip. Because you're not supposed to move your shoulders while doing this. It's just your forearms working. That's the correct form. Shaking hands is great and all, but what's the point if you can't even handle your own body? That's right, we get into the best part of calisthenics, which is the core. The core is composed of the glorious abs, the obliques surrounded, the lower back, and the glutes. These muscles are very, very important when it comes to life. Sure, you might be weak with carrying boxes or can't walk much, but if your core is very strong, you can even do the hardest work and most calisthenic skills. Because with a great core, you'll be able to walk fine at 80 years old. So do not neglect this part of your body, and there are many different ways to get stronger in this area. And it's not necessarily about the six-pack, although it's great, it's about how tough your core is. You want to see how strong it is? Do this! It's called an L-sit. I'll show you how to do this and many more. Most of these exercises are static holds and you can do them on the floor or hanging. So, we have the laying down exercises like the leg flutters, then the leg raises. Going up the ladder, we have the leg lift. In this one, don't use momentum. Just keep your legs straight and raise them as high as you can. And another variation of the leg lift is one you do with your partner. Just tell them to push away your legs in every direction. It's definitely engaging. Next, we got the hollow body hold with your arms above. But you can also do the boat hold, which is less taxing on your arms. Of course, you got the classic plank. Although it's not only an ab workout, it's still a great staple of the sport. But I definitely don't recommend crunches or Russian twists since it trains too much the sides of your body. It still doesn't mean you can't do side holds for the obliques. You can regulate the elevation as much as you want. If you want to fly, do the Superman hold. I mean, I just don't like it really, but this one's cool. And it's for your back. Moving on, we've got the bicycle, which is definitely sweaty and burning. Just do the movement right with your legs extended and don't be sloppy. And more on that, we've got the ab roll, which does require equipment. If you got this one, you can try it. And then we've got a few more like the dragon flag, the toes to the bar hanging, the reverse hyperextension, pseudo plank variations like the frog plank, which is a skill you can work up to, and this funny trick where you can write the alphabets with your legs. This one reads out subscribe. On an important note for abs and the skills that come with the abs, you'll have to do a lot of core compressions. Very important, you literally get cramps from it. The further you put your arms in front, the harder it is to lift your legs. Do them one at a time or with both, as well as reps or holds. These seated leg lifts will give you cramps, so be ready for that. And this will also prepare you for your leg strength and ab toughness for exercises like the L-sit. Now, the L-sit is one of the easiest skills in calisthenics. It's literally just you holding up with your shoulders and lifting your legs to do your core. And if you got the basic strength, you can do about 15 seconds. That's the requirement until you move on to the next level. And if you can't do it, well, here are the many variations of L-sits. Something you can definitely use for these are parallettes, which elevates you and release tension from the wrist. You'd need straight leg strength with enough flexibility to the hamstrings, so definitely focus on these stretches. And you should also breathe. You'll struggle to breathe in this, so make sure to regulate it. The first variation is the scapula push-up. You simply just lift yourself with your shoulders, and this is the first basic step. Then you can move to a tucked L-sit and hold that for some time. Switch to one leg transitions onto a one leg hold. You can straddle L-sit until you can get your legs together, and eventually you will get the L-sit. A great way to exercise this might seem ridiculous, but you can walk with your arms doing the L-sit. Trust me, it's not as easy as it looks. This is just a basic level. For a better looking skill, the next progression is the V-sit, where your legs go way higher. For this, you should start with a tucked V-sit, where your leg is ready to project up, then do the negative of said variation. Next, you try the wall V-sit with assisted support of the wall. You will need a lot of flexibility for this, by the way. And finally, you will achieve the V-sit. Of course, you also have the hanging variations of the L-sit progression. There's more grip involved, but here you can do reps of lifting your legs for the tucked hold and then full L-sit. You're also allowed to do toes to bar and even do pull-ups like this. But all you gotta remember really is that core is important. Here's a little quiz. What part of your body makes up a third of your weight? That's right, the legs! They define your stance and act like the arms of the lower body, only double the size. You don't want to be like those gym rats who don't train legs, with their tiny ass chicken legs, look at them. That's why you have the quads, which is the most visible muscle of the leg. Behind that, we've got the hamstrings, then the glutes, which is pretty much your ass, and lastly, the calves, which are pretty hard to grow. First thing you need to know about legs is hamstring flexibility. I struggle with this a lot, and tight hamstrings are one of the most common issues for flexibility. So as a rule of thumb, keep them stretched. Stretch them every day, that's what I do. Also, the wrist of the legs is called the ankle. Yet another place I see people getting injured over. For these, you can just warm them up by grabbing your heels and rotating the foot around, as well as raising your heels and applying pressure to begin with the workout. Just like how triceps got push-ups and the biceps got pull-ups, legs grow best with a lot of squats. Go down and push with your legs up, that's a squat. There is again the width of the foot placement, but finger usage here is more accessible since lifting your toes is easier than lifting your fingers with a push-up motion. That's where we get Hindu squats from. Always keep your heels up while squatting with a close distance. I forgot to mention that for squats, it is way more important to breathe in and breathe out correctly, and I will repeat, you breathe in when you go down and breathe out once you push with the effort. It is important, especially for the legs, because if you mess up your breathing pattern, you might faint or even worse, mess up your heart. So focus on the breathing. Back to the squats though. Our legs are the most developed part of our bodies, because they're always under our weight. That's why we can easily incorporate explosiveness. Instead of just doing the squat, try jumping, or at least lift your heel off. Other types of squats are lunges and Bulgarian split squats. I'm not a big fan of these. There's also the sissy squat, which I've tried for a few months and I like it, but it feels unsafe. As well as this thing I don't have the name of. Now, we move on to single leg variations, my favorite one being the pistol squat. If you can't keep balance, you can hold yourself onto a platform, and if you can't do a single leg, well, do the eccentric portion, where you control lowering down the leg. Other single leg variations are the shrimp squat, touching the toes, dragon squat, and, for the full range of motion, the deep squat. Between each of these few sets, what I like to do is a 60 to 90 second horse stance. Just a basic hold that will unlock many powers in your legs. And of course you can do them like a wall sit, which is pretty similar. The wall can actually help you even do a one leg hold. Moving on to the bottom part of your leg, the only exercise I really know for calves is just raises. Unless you got really bad calves, I don't see the point in training them. You can only jump to develop the explosiveness, but just use a platform where you can get the full range of motion and slowly do the movements nicely, just squeezing in the muscle. And for more progress, try this with one leg at a time or with weights. Obviously, make sure to do both sides properly. If you really want big legs, here are 3 secret tips. In fact, here's why the legs shouldn't be trained like the arms. What I mean by that is that having legs that are to push is not the most important use of them. Explosiveness and jumping will be way more useful than just doing leg presses or something. And it's especially more important with endurance and walking. Advice coming from my dad who hiked extravagantly, the secret to powerful and enduring legs is walking up mountains or stairs. When you think about it, walking up is like doing lunges constantly. You can rest assured that this will help you with your legs. But the secret is... Hey, we just went through all of the basic calisthenic movements. Now we can move on to the flexibility, which is the stretching phase. When you work out hard for many months without stretching, your muscle sure does get stronger, but it just got shorter. Your blood circulation gets more complicated, and you end up with round muscles not as powerful as they could be. And for the scenario you do stretch after every workout, it's important to do it while you're warm, you release tension and blood, meaning the muscle will get longer, capable of receiving more blood in workouts. This truly makes it efficient, since the blood doesn't accumulate and make it look big. It's dangerous to saturate the process. So more stretch, more gains. Now, let's get into the main stretches. Since I don't have a name for most of these, you'll just have to see it and take screenshots of it like I did. And I will show you the stretches in order of muscle group from up to down, or you can also do it from down to up, regardless of what it is. I'll make this pretty quick. All you gotta do really for these stretches is do them around 30 to 45 seconds. But if you really want to stretch an area, do 5 minutes easily. First, we've got the neck with light movement, and moving down you've got the arms, which also involves your torso for these stretches here. This one is for the chest, and forward down we've got the forearms, which you can do floating, on a wall, or even on the floor. Next, we're moving to the lats, and this simple bar hold, relaxing your shoulders will hit it. And this quirky pose here, where you need to turn your hips forward and lower yourself down. This will also hit the spine. In my experience, this stretch here made me feel my abs. I discovered this one by my own. You just gotta engage your upper body and let your abs go and stretch. But obviously you can just hang as a whole for your whole back. I do this every few minutes before sleep. We've also got the alternations of the cobra pose to the laying thing here. It's also a back stretch. And what I do for my back asymmetry is laying down and going on one side very hard. See how far you can go. But a much more important stretch for overall health is the deep squat. This is the very basic movement that everyone should be able to do. It elongates your spine and proves you got enough flexibility. If you can't do this, then you're screwed. And now, entering the leg phase, we've got the variations of hip and inner thigh flexibility. The most common hold is the butterfly stretch. This is heavily correlated to those leg splits, which is pretty hard to do. Unlocking your hips will help you do many more advanced skills. And now, what I'm training for is hamstring flexibility. You can do it standing with both legs or just one. And the same thing on the floor. When you're doing stretches for a long time, like 5 minutes, it's important to make sure you're going deeper at the limit of discomfort and relaxation. Each time you breathe out, you go slightly deeper. And the goal here is to have longer fibers. But if you really love stretches, you psychopath, make it your mission to unlock your whole body with all sorts of crazy possibilities. And how can you forget the glutes? Stretching this part will unlock all of your hips. Moving on with the legs, the biggest muscle we see are the quads. And stretching that part of your body will get you a nice bounce. This is the simple laying variation, but if you're crazy enough, you can do these. In my experience, the standing ones are more efficient with this one, where you lean forward. You can use support if you want, and if you hold your leg, it's even better. Just be careful with your knee here. The last hard variation is, instead of holding your leg, just let the wall do the job. I'm sure it's not that hard. And lastly, we have the calves. But this stretch is mostly for the Achilles tendon. You can either lean towards a wall or just use a platform with both feet or single leg. When you do all of these stretches, make sure that you take your time, that you time it with a timer next to it, and that you check for good, correct form. And especially you should not do too much and too little. After each exercise, stretch your whole body, and you can also specialize in some areas like I do for the hamstrings. And with that out of the way, I'm going to show you how to work out. Let's get right into it. When it comes to warming up, it's first about raising your heart rate. This entails that you obviously do lower variations of your exercises in a fast way in order to tell your heart, hey, get pumping. Because if you do the hardest variation of a push-up with no warm-up, you're just tearing your heart apart. So safely take 5 to 10 minutes to just jump around. What I prefer is to just jog for a little, then come back, but anything that gets you closer to a sweaty state will help you. And the other important part of activation in the body itself, meaning if you're doing pull-ups, start hanging. Do scapular rotations. Your joints are the easiest parts to hurt, especially the wrists. So the way to prepare the wrist are leans like this, simple rotations, up and down movement, then slowly applying pressure on them. The wrist of the legs are the ankles, so if you're doing any crazy movements with the legs, just rotate them. You also have other parts of your body like the neck, the elbows, and shoulder dislocates. They are all basically rotations. The reason why I don't have names for most of these is because I just took screenshots of these videos I learned from. Then I put a timer on the side and waited for about 30 seconds. Although now I do it purely out of my own feelings and body. Learn from yourselves if you want. In calisthenics, there are many skills, which all unlock a function of your body, meaning you get more control to do crazy stuff like holds and abilities. It's amazing how flexible and strong the human body really is. Tell me how it's possible to do a plank or even a front lever. It's mostly thanks to the shoulders, specifically the straight arm strength and the front delt, which is super important. This is also where the core shows its true powers in skills like the Iron Cross, the Human Flag, and all of these crazy combinations from something called freestyle calisthenics. But easier skills you can do right now are L-sits, the elbow lever, which is actually easier than it looks like, a handstand, which is more about balance. Muscle ups are just about having enough pulling strength. The possibilities are just vast and limited to what the human body is truly capable of. I can tie this up with just watching transformation videos. It's amazing how many young guys change from skinny pencil necks into tough guys. It's really great. Maybe you want to record your own journey, make it fun. See when you're going to achieve the skills, see some progress in your life. Although for that you need a structure, a way to do your workouts. So that's why the next chapter is... Once you have a workout plan, you have the muscle group or function, sets, and reps. A set is the number of reps you're going to do, and rep stands short for repetition. If you want to do 3 sets of 10, you write it like this. And of course, there are many different types of sets. And something you gotta take in is that volume is equals to the sets you do times the reps you do times the intensity you put in the workout. And every week or so, you raise that number by a little bit. My favorite sets are the hard ones that get you fatigued, meaning doing 3 to 5 sets to failure with a 30-second rest. And doing sets to failure means that you just reach the point that you can't push anymore. Something important is the rest between the sets. For most exercises and most people, this rest period is 2 to 3 minutes. But I lower the time I rest for to get more activation for the muscle. There's also sets with different purposes, meaning that you can focus on the eccentric movements or slowly do each rep. You can rush it by doing quick push-ups, and depending on the exercise you do, for example static poses like the plank, here you write how many seconds you do. These sets also depend on your goals. So if you're going to train for strength, you gotta do the harder variations and do less reps. For example, you're able to do 20 squats. Instead of doing your regular 3 sets of 20 reps of squats, you transition to a harder variation, pistol squats. You keep the same amount of sets, but instead you have 5 reps that you can do maximally. And there's just so many variations. Your only limit is your imagination. But use the ones I showed you in the video. If you want to work to get good gains, test your maximum amount of reps in a set and with correct form, obviously. Take that number and throughout the workout, you do 3 to 5 times that rep count in total. So for you who does 20 push-ups, 20 times 5 equals to 100 reps in total of any push-up. And another handy thing are supersets. Meaning that today, you have to do a push and leg workout at the same time. Well, you could just do 1 set of your push exercise, wait for your heart to relax, then 1 set of legs after that. Besides, when you're going to write your workout, make sure that your sets will get you sore and sweaty. You don't want to leave a workout with a full tank. Speaking of tanks, a good number of reps is something close to failure, so you don't want to waste all of your energy at the same time. Now, since we know how the numbers work, we're gonna use them. The way you plan workouts is by creating sessions. And the sessions we talked about are push, pull, leg, core, and you can add other stuff like training for a skill or a specific muscle like forearms for grip. You take into account the volume, which is the sets times reps times intensity. You check out for which type of sets you want to specialize in and how frequently you're going to work for that muscle group per week. But I'll make all of this easy just for you. The important thing is to just get hard sets with low reps of a variation you're trying to achieve. The secret rule of thumb for me is if you can do 15 reps of an exercise, move on to a harder variation. And for a session of a muscle group, the ideal number is around 9 to 12. You don't need excessively too much or too little. Hit this muscle group 2 to 3 times a week, 2 if it's harder and 3 if it's lighter. So here's what I suggest. Of course you can change it at your own will. The point is write these things down on a notebook or your notes app. Here are 2 examples of this week, where you got push, pull, legs and abs. You can put any type of group together, but I usually don't mix pushing sessions with pulling ones. This format is pretty minimal. With a rest day on Sunday, I honestly recommend something like the second week, as you can see here. Push and legs are combined, as well as pull and abs. This has 3 days of push legs if you want to prioritize more of these. As I want to save time, whenever I have school breaks, I go to the pull-up bars and make sure I get my lats sore. And for every actual session, you can do them anywhere you want. Whether it's home, outside, on a rooftop, regardless of what you do not start off cold. Do a little 5 to 10 minute warm-up session and end it off with a stretch focusing on the muscles you used that day, but still do the whole body. You'll have to think this routine through, and I can't really write it for you, but if you want, comment down below for help and I will reach out and help you. And if you like, you can also take the templates that I'm going to show you right now. These sessions I'm showing you here are pretty light, but if they're hard for you, well, train for it. This is what I would consider exercises that anyone with good basic strength can do. Just take 3 minutes between each exercise, and between sets, take your time. Superset them on your personal schedule. The next point I'm going to get into is experimenting. You're going to experiment a lot during your time working out, but what's important is that you stick to a few basics. For example, you start your journey and for the next 3 months, you're going to focus on archer push-ups, correcting the form each time you do it, targeting the muscles there and just getting stronger at that skill. Of course, this is one thing, but you can have a favorite push exercise. Mine is the one with the hands that are closer to the waist. For the first few weeks of you working out, you are susceptible to changes in the schedule to see what works best for you and building strength and muscles. And every few months you must change variations to get to the harder progressions. And you should as well add diversity, because working out the same way will just build your muscle in one dimension rather than all directions. So try them out. All of the exercises I showed you, just try a set to failure and you'll see your level immediately. Now this reminds me of testing PRs. PR stands for personal record and involves how many reps or seconds you can do of an exercise. The one that I always did was my maximum set of push-ups, and the most that I did in a row with correct form is, I think, almost 100. You can test it out each month and keep track of the progress. And really, the way that I see it is like a video game. Life already is a video game. You run simulations every day and level up your stats and bars. This also includes tracking your weight and what you're eating, challenging yourself from time to time, and especially if you specialize in a calisthenic skill, you can easily do the beginner skills in 3 months. Something else that's important is checking your form. For each exercise, you can research how to do the correct form and practice it. To show my case, back then I would do pull-ups kinda wrong. That's why after 10 videos, I literally mastered the correct pull-up form, and I'm still working on it. An easy way to master a movement is by getting a professional to look at you, or you can even just record yourself and compare it to the correct form videos. You should really master the perfect push-up. Another thing to note is equipment. Luckily, calisthenics is known to be accessible for anyone with a floor, but there are certain things you can use for the workouts. Obviously, pull-up bars and other types of bars can be found outside in a park, but you can also get some homemade versions of these bars. Just make sure not to fall. Well, you can't make excuses if you really got stairs. I mean, you can still do pull-ups, look at this. Sometimes I also use a pair of parallettes. These allow you to get a higher ground and a better range of motion. They also protect your wrists by not straining them too much. You can use these for L-sits or deeper push-ups. Next, we got the bands, which are pretty good if you're injured and need recovery, but most likely you'll just use it to warm up. For example, this movement for the arms will just create tension and prepare the arms, because this way you're not working out the muscle, you're just warming them up. There's exercises for that, you can check it out in other videos. And lastly, I started incorporating weights. Not over 10 kilos, I use it for such things like the lateral raises, these pulling ones, but especially I find it useful for the shrugs. My traps get really sore with this one. Now with absolutely everything out of the way, I will show you the most important part of this video. So you want to start working out. You watch this whole entire video and you want to start working out. Here's a message for you. You want to really work out? Is that really what you want? Sure, you might say,
Oh, but I want to be strong. I want to look good for girls on the beach.
but is it really what you want? Because if it isn't, make sure it isn't, then what's the point? And if you really want, good. Alright, I'll tell you what to do. Step 1 of being that guy who works out is by literally being. I am the guy who works out. Because putting yourself in a state of mind will always just push you away from dumb bullshit. You cannot put ad blockers to help you. You have to be the guy that doesn't watch it. Because being is literally the point of life. I'm being this, I'm being that. And if your being is wrong, that's why you're going to the wrong way. It's just simple as that. It's simple. And of course, you got all the things like you want to push through, right? You want to push the limits of your mind. You want to stay hard, consistent. You want to just be that guy. But ask yourself, do you really want it? The reason I started working out is definitely to look good. But then I realized, oh, it's amazing for my mind. Do you know how many nights I spent sleepless doing 1,000 push-ups? It's crazy. Because it is all in the mind. Literally, this world here is way bigger than everything else in the world. And you want to build yourself up with here so you can last as long as possible. And you want to survive. The workout pillar is literally one of the foundations of your world, of your life. So you definitely need to put in some work in there. You need to learn how to fight, how to breathe, how to walk, how to even work out, how to be strong for the people around you. Because at some point, you'll realize that being a fat ass is not really what you want. Oh, I like my cookies and I'm nom 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 nom. Bro, how many times did he say that and nothing happened in your life? Nothing changed. Nothing changed in your life. It's time to change now. Because now is the only time that exists. And now is the only time that it can be. You cannot say, oh, I'm gonna get it later in the future. Or you cannot dwell on the mistakes of, oh my god, it was so nice before. Shut the fuck up. You have now. Take your balls and literally just go around the world. Put your balls on the table and say, I'm gonna take over my life. I'm not gonna let this happen. I already have everything I need. It's all gonna come my way. I already know that I'm have that sexy six pack. Sexy six pack. I mean abs. I'll have everything I want. I want the money, the girls, the fame, the riches, whatever the fuck you want. It's coming your way. And the way that this implies into consistency is just, you have to be that guy. Give up some hours of your time during the week. You want to do some push-ups in the morning? Go ahead. You can always do push-ups. Anywhere in life. It's really not hard for you to get strong. And if you're making excuses for that, you're a bitch. You just don't want it that badly. I want it that badly and I already got this. But I did slack. I did slack this summer and I'm getting back into it. I'm gonna finally do the L-sit very properly. I'm gonna do the handstand. I'll get the muscle up easily. I'll just be stronger. By the end of this school year, I'm going to be stronger. So with the little rant out of the way, you can watch my past videos. You can just don't watch so many of these. The mistake that I did was literally watching all these self-improvement videos and just never really making progress. Because I would just watch and watch and watch. And then I would try to apply it in real life, but it doesn't work. Just be. It's so easy. Imagine. Use your imagination. Can you use your imagination to see that you're a winner? Paint the picture and follow that picture throughout your life and be. And you'll become that picture. Yeah, as I was gonna say, you can literally just watch my videos. I already explained everything you need. And if you want, contact me in the comments and I'll genuinely help you with whatever you want in workouts. Because mentorship and apprenticeship is pretty important in life. You want to be a billionaire? Sure, go ahead, live with a billionaire. Imagine living with a billionaire for a whole month. All the things you can learn. Of course, not just the example of billionaires, but I usually just memorize the sensei thing, right? But with everything out of the way, thank you for watching the video. I wish you a good day and stay tuned for more important videos. Let's see if this gets 100k, right? I'm gonna literally perfect the thumbnail, the title, and everything. If I don't get it, fuck it. I still have the people that are around me in real life and online also. But I'm visualizing it. I see it. I have 100k. And with everything out of the way, thank you for watching and don't make this video just another one, alright? Every piece of information here this video is probably an hour long. You can literally just take the information and then you write it down. You do all the methods and the steps to do and you test it out. You start working out. And then you do it every few weeks and every few months and years until you become the strong man you want to be. I'm counting on you. See you on the next one. Bye-bye. the long slope. I love it. That's where I run. Right now I'm sprinting. You can see the sky is kind of brighter. Oh, there we go. Don't miss the slopes. Okay. I sure did come a long way. And it's only just the beginning. You'll see what I'll do. You'll see.